Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Southern Tiff TV. Today we're making this beautiful pot roast and gravy. This can work for any roast. So here's the ingredients that you'll need. Alright, I'm going to start by chopping my onion and my celery. And yes, my celery is frozen because I bought a whole head of celery and I really don't use that much, so I just froze it. Don't defrost it before you do it because it will turn mushy, so I just leave it frozen and cut it. Also, I did not have my bell pepper, so I just substituted the bell pepper for garlic because I was not going back to the store. I know lots of people like to add their celery later with their carrots cooking in the gravy, but I just love when you do it at the beginning with your onions and they just break down and become part of the gravy. I find it gives it a really great flavor. If you don't do that, give it a try and see how you like it. Here I'm thinly slicing my mushrooms. The thickness of the slices do not matter. I just like the fact that they cook down a lot better when they're thin, but that's just my preference. If you want some chunky, cubed, duck-shaped, whatever you want, just go ahead and do that. Alright, I'm just going to season my little pot roast with some potassium salt. This is really great if you're like me and have a potassium deficiency. And I'm also going to use no salt Cajun seasoning. This is the Tony Chachere's. I'm just going to pat that into the roast to make sure it sticks. And of course do it to the other side. And whatever is left on the board, just go ahead and tap your sides of the roast on it. Get it all in there. Now I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on one side and kind of just start spreading it out and patting it into the meat. This helps get a lovely crust on the beef when you sear it. It works so good with pork. I decided just to do it on beef too, and I fell in love with that, so I just started doing it. And just do it like you do the seasoning. Flour both sides, make sure you get the sides of the roast, get it all in there. I have preheated my pot, so I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and let that heat up before adding the roast. And I actually saw that the roast was going to be too big, so I cut it in half and of course stuck my roast in the flour just to make sure that side piece that I cut is completely coated. And then I just drop it into the pot to sear on both sides. About 10 minutes on both sides depending on how high you have your heat. I have a medium heat. So it takes me about 6 to 10 minutes to sear. As you can see, it's seared, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out. It's still not going to be fully cooked at all, but just put it into a bowl off to the side and then drop your vegetables. Do not drop your piece of meat like I did. But just add your vegetables into the drippings and go ahead and saute them. Once they're halfway through, go ahead and add your mushrooms and cook until the mushrooms are fully done, because then the rest of your vegetables should be done. Here I got 2 cups of water, and I am adding 2 Lipton onion soup mixes to the water, and I'm going to mix them together and pour them into the pot. Once you do that, go ahead and mix everything together. Make sure you're getting all the good bits from the bottom of the pot where all the flavor is. Now you can let that go as is, but I always tend to make a lot of gravy because I tend to like more gravy. So I'm just taking some better than bouillon base, the beef flavored, and putting it into my measuring cup. It was a little over a teaspoon, like pretty much almost a complete tablespoon. So I was like, why waste it? So I just did that, added some hot water, 2 cups of hot water, and just gave it a mix till everything was combined. And then I poured it into my pot with the gravy and let it come to a boil for about 5 minutes. Now I'm just adding a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce as well as a teaspoon of red wine vinegar. I love it. I know it sounds weird, but it just gives you this background kind of flavor in your gravy that you can't really pinpoint what it is, but people get so excited for it. Okay, once everything is stirred and combined, go ahead and add your roast back in, making sure the gravy completely covers it. And don't forget to add all the juices and bits that fell at the bottom of that bowl when you took it out. That's all the good flavor. You want that in there. I peeled and sliced my carrots. I normally put potatoes in there too, but I was out of it, and again, I wasn't going to the store, so I just made use of what I have. I made sure my roast was completely covered. I'm putting the lid on it, and I'm going to cook it anywhere from 2 to 4 hours until the meat is tender. And as you can see, it's falling apart. I'm kind of just getting rid of the big chunks because I want them kind of uniformed. I couldn't even pick it up with a fork or even the tongs. They fell apart so bad. This was at 3 hours. Once everything is to your liking, go ahead and make your slurry. What a slurry is a mixture of cornstarch and water that you add to your gravies to thicken it up. I know if anyone Cajun's watching this, you're like, why don't you use roux? That's a gravy thickener. I don't like to use roux. I really, truly do not. I just use the slurry, and most of the time I gotta even explain to them what a slurry is because they use roux to thicken everything, like gravies, stews, what have you. They use roux. I don't. I only use that for like gumbos and things like that. I pretty much did 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and a half a cup of cold water. Cold is really important, so that way you can get your cornstarch really mixed in there, and you can use a fork or a whisk, whatever have you, to make sure there's no lumps or anything. Then you start stirring your gravy and you add the slurry a little at a time, just to make sure it gets thickened to your perfect consistency that you like, because otherwise once you thicken it too much, there's no turning back from that. You can always add more if it's thinner, but once it's too thick, it's hard to get it back right without having to add a whole bunch of water and a whole bunch more cooking time to where everything's just mush. So it's better to be safer than sorry. Alright, once the slurry is completely mixed in, go ahead and cover and let it cook on low for 10 minutes, and you're done. You have a beautiful pot roasting gravy with tender vegetables, and all your diced vegetables have melted and become part of the gravy, which is just full of flavor. Oh my god, people are going to love it. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for future videos like these. See you in the next video, guys.